the voices of the other people and the voices of like the extreme or the freaks or the people who are not the business owners or not rich or whatever, you know, those were ignored that night here on that voting night, and it was really annoying. And if you weren't here for any of that, some of us were, most of us all were here, and everything. I think that was just an event that disturbed me about our neighborhood, and also.
Well, it was disturbing. It was very challenging.
Well, what was disturbing about it was that there wasn't open, it wasn't clean, it wasn't, you know, made obvious to everyone about what was going to transpire that evening.
But Tim, you know, the other thing about this too is, as I reflected on a little of these things, what we do isn't for title, it isn't for any of this. The things that we are doing in the neighborhood aren't 1-year terms, 2-year terms, 3-year terms. They're like the glacial age. We're setting things up, and we need to remember this, just like Native Americans would try to do things for the generations after the generations after the generations after the generations. We're not planting this tree right now so that we can bring this fruit in and make some wine with it. You know, we're planting this fruit right now so that somebody else is going to be able to pluck it and find it absolutely fucking delicious. Because we have made this, you know, and there's just something about what we do, you know, what we do as a collective, what we do in power, what we do in our community, like Eli Space, like you're saying. Has this ever happened in my lifetime in this neighborhood?
Yeah,
in 20 years?
Ickey's Tea House.
Ickey's Tea House.
Yeah.
One more time. So is this like a renaissance? A renaissance of consciousness? It is. It is fucking beautiful. It comes out of despair and like COVID and all these things.
It's happened before too. Like I don't know, thinking about like Lloyd like going on the patio and like reciting poetry and like having everybody like take moments and doing stuff like that. Like it's been around. It's just kind of been like diminished by other priorities.
But I'm just excited about, you know, if we're gonna elicit like people to do something, anything, then we've won. And then if we could have a place, say this, where we come together and we talk about like our feelings and everything, and then nothing is an issue anymore, I'm fucking down with that, man. I'm on for the greater good. I don't give a fuck, you know? I love that. And I love the fact that Eli's so inclusive. You know, in the beginning, I was kind of like, man, they're going to take advantage of him. He is so nice, you know.
It's happening.
No, I'm not saying that. But
It is happening?
Yeah.
I'm getting
I
taken
think so.
advantage of?
You're not
I
taking
think so.
advantage of.
By who?
What's that?
By who?
I think
Let's-
it's not so much by, I don't think it's so much by who. I think it's a little bit like I think what's really important, and I've suggested this to you in the past, take it slow. Just because know the landscape you're existing, because you're new to it. And I think that is something that is really important to still remember, and I think I would suggest that again.
Yeah.
And whether it's who or whatever, I don't know. It could be me, it could be whoever, you know. But the thing is that you have to find out in your gut and your own instincts who you can trust, and then also what you really want to do with the space. And but that takes time. Sometimes.
Well, I want to give.
Yeah.
I want to give.
What do you got going? You got a camera going on there?
I am. Yeah. So.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm recording this. I hope this is okay.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why in just a moment. But first, I want to give you a chance to say what you wanted to say.
Were you at the meeting the other night? I was not. So everybody else
Was. Yeah.
My name is Oker.
I'm Eli. Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Eli. I've heard a lot about you.
And this is Will, right? Will?
I'm new. I'm just getting educated, man. I'm just learning how stuff goes around here. But I do have some previous experience to fall back on. And what I saw that night, because I participated in city council meetings, ward council, and all on homeless issues in all other cities. And having been a transient almost all of my life, and having gone to a lot of those meetings, having put a lot of earnest effort and never seen nothing really come out of it. I know what I'm looking at. When I looked the other night, I saw a difference between this room and that screen. Because I saw this room was clicked up West 3rd. People who have been continuously for a long period of time really concerned and really wanting to apply things and get some stuff done. And I know all the code words. I listen to all those people, and I know nobody's got a bad intention, or everybody's a good person and all that, but all they care about is business. That's all they care about, all those people I saw out there. And I knew, I looked up there and I was like, yeah, in 5 years from now, nothing will have been done. With all due respect, you were talking, and I have beautiful words about planting trees for the future. There's that whole Algonquin, Iroquois, 7 years in the, that's all beautiful and true, but I'm gonna die and I'm never gonna see anything. I feel an urgency. I want to see in this neighborhood a lot, a 1, 2, 3 acre lot taken over and a permanent encampment built there. I want to see a drop-in center. I want to see an integration of housed and houseless people interacting with each other on a daily basis, right? Not like we're your charity cases and you're over there living the good life and every once in a while no, I want to actually form community where we interact with each other and build a history together, where we're dating each other, doing drugs together, whatever hell, building gardens together. But over a period of time, you're like, yeah, it's been 12 years I've known that dude. You know, I remember when he used to be on meth, and look at him now, he's got 2 baby boys, you know. That's the kind of thing that I'm seeing. And what I saw on that screen was, as somebody who, I have 2 main objectives. I want to, 1, establish a permanent housing, sustainable village on a lot where we grow food and live. And second, a drop-in center, a place where the community of people who have resources and are privileged a little bit, and people who don't have so much could interact on a day-to-day basis. Things like, hey bro, pick up the Snapple bottle. Hey man, I just finished making that garden, clean that stuff up, you know. The little self-policing, the little day-to-day interaction where we develop respect with each other, and like a place where there's a hot plate with a stove, some books on shelves, a desk with a volunteer sitting behind it, that anybody that walks in can get hooked up to services. You can also just hang out and find out things, you know, and a place where neighborhood can have meetings. Those are my 2 goals. And when I looked up on that screen, I saw that those were the people who were going to resist what I want. And I looked in this room and I saw these people as the ones who was gonna make it happen. And my only regret is that no one explained to me that I could have walked out that day as an at-large member. But the next one that comes open, man, I'm gonna do it, because what I really want to do is to form a committee, which I understand you have the authority to do as a member, an alternative housing committee to explore finding a property in the neighborhood that we can approach the owner, make an offer, maybe find them some kind of sweetheart tax deal that they get some kind of benefit for giving us, knock a little bit of price off of it, and use our status as this city chartered thing to apply for funds to pay for this thing. That's what my goal is. And the only one last little thing I want to say, homelessness, I just want to provide this little perspective. Everyone in my community, we talk a lot about the term houseless, homeless, right? It's a complicated thing, you know. For years personally, I was like, oh, fuck you, I'm not homeless, I'm houseless. I'm home wherever my hat is, you know. And that's a very legitimate, and there's a lot of people who have that. But in the end, and I'm only telling you this just to give a perspective, that's all. But in the end, I reverted back to homeless for political reasons. Because no matter where I lay my hat, I'm not ever assured that I can be there. And the point is not about me, Oker P. Dingle, but actually you and you and you as well, man, because so many people lose their homes, lose their jobs, they end up sleeping in the car, and then they're homeless. It's the nature of capitalism. So we are all homeless. And because of the way as a capitalist society that we treat the earth as a possession instead of a living thing, I decided to stick with the homeless. I'm homeless until we address these, fix some of these situations.
There was a lot of truth in what you just said. I think like,
I clocked in just a little under 100 minutes, huh?
You did pretty well. I was surprised.
but I want to give Annika and Will the floor for a little bit because Annika's not really said as much. So I do want to hear from you, Annika. I mean, I want this to be an open
What
forum.
are you doing with the video, Eli?
Okay.
Can I ask?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm recording
I am
this.
asking.
I'm recording this and I'm going to put it on YouTube if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason why is because the city, just briefly, and then I'll turn it over to Annika. Just briefly, the city called me on Friday and they were like, you're not being a church. You don't have any church services. And I was like, well, we have the weekly Sunday service. This is the service, and it's an open mic and it's an open forum. But this is our service. So I do think it's incumbent upon me to document that yes, this is a meeting here. Yes, this is a spiritual communion. And yes, this is actually a service. And in my mind, there's no more potent source of revelation than the lens of individual artistic sharing. And I mean, it's very much aligned with the tenets of our religious beliefs to come together as a community and talk here. So
What if we just had people come and talk?
that's what this
Well,
Because I think that there's this is a resource right now where, we have people in our lives who are influential and powerful, and not even powerful within the community, but maybe spiritually or whatever. But it would be nice, like if maybe we invited them to come and just have a chat.
I love that.
But you know what? I
But
mean, yeah, you put that up on YouTube, and everybody's don't feel as free to express themselves because you're trying to put something out there to establish this as some sort of entity that is sort of covers with, is within the legitimized by the city, and they're going to be watching this, and so I think that's something to really,
You think it's going to
I
be?
think there's
Well,
great
I don't
potential.
know.
Okay, let me just
But-
bring it back to Annika. But I do want to say this: it is a fact that the neighbors over there have complained about the fact that we're not being a church,
well, whatever.
and that's their opinion. I don't think it's.
Well, yeah.
What are their complaints?
She,
Let me turn it
No,
over to
no,
Annika,
yeah.
Okay.
and then we'll circle back to that.
After
Okay,
this,
sorry.
I'll talk to you off camera.
But what I want to do
That's crazy,
is I
didn't
do want
expect that.
to like do once a month at least where I sort of document that these meetings are here
So,
and
That's a
that
good
you all
idea.
are part of this community and you're in coming here and sharing your ideas spiritually. I feel like that's a spiritual communion. That's important.
it is.
One thing, obviously, you saw differences between the three-dimensional people that were here and the two-dimensional people that were on the screen the other night.
But that was
And
just
so,
that was just
but no, but the thing is that there are definitely people are gonna be watching this. And to express yourself freely is gonna be more difficult to do.
Well, and
Okay.
if anyone
But
at
anyway.
the end of this wants to say, hey, I don't feel comfortable having this up, I can just stop.
But I'm just expressing this, and that's cool.
But let's turn it over to Annika because I want to give her some time. And then I want Will to do another song and
Yay!
yeah.
Sure.
Annika.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, okay, so, yeah, we've been talking a lot about helping people and doing things for the community, and one thing, I guess, that's been on my mind lately, I read a book today, and that was the first time I read a book in months.
It's hard to hear you.
You
Okay.
wrote a book?
I read a book.
Oh,
I read a book. And I think just sometimes when we get caught up in helping people and helping the community and doing things for other people, we forget to sometimes do things and take care of ourselves. And so it was just like my little reminder today to like sit in the sunshine and drink some water and do things.
what'd you
for
read?
myself. It's a book called Too Pretty to Be Good. It's by a girl that's it's interesting. It's
Explain it, please.
you know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, I know. That's
Oh,
why
okay.
I think it's very interesting.
So she's a lady that I found on Instagram, and she's like my new idol. But she's a stripper and has multiple PhDs, and goes on Instagram and talks about things like feminism and like body positivity and like the culture this sort of educated elite sort of society versus like the strip club sort of people. And so I love watching her stuff, and I'm like fascinated with her. But it's a really interesting tale about sort of, it's her autobiography. So
So this
I'm,
book today.
this book today. So I'm
Why
reading
did you
it.
change careers?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I love hearing, like I said, sort of the stories of how people sort of combine these different worlds that they live in. Like the worlds that we think that we're, but yeah, the whole idea is, like I said, sitting in the sun and reading.
Self-care.
Self-care. You know,
What was
fun.
the name of the book again?
Too
Too
pretty to be good.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
So that's my thing.
All right, I'm giving the floor back to Will for a little bit. I'd love it if you played another song, Will.
Sure, I will do that.
And then maybe if you'd like, you can pass around your artwork before the evening is over and just show people what you've been sketching.
Certainly. Yeah, will do. I've done a number of sketches of Eli playing. When I go to open mics and stuff, I'll sketch the different musicians or people around. So I will show that. Before I play a song, though, I just want to just talk a little or add something to what I've been hearing, because I didn't realize that this place was what it was. I just saw something about an open mic, and I'm like, oh, great, I missed those. And I did my, busking at market yesterday, and I got, got the excitement going for playing in front of people again. I had no idea what this was, and I'm more than pleasantly, I guess, surprised at not only the venue itself, which is just such a great place for this type of thing, but the spirit behind it and what seems to be happening and seems to be planted in here. And hearing everybody speak so far has been great, and has just given me some different perspective of things going on. And I'm very, I'm grateful for this type of community beginning, this type of is it a spiritual community, but also physical community, artistic community, helping and caring about other community. Like, this is like kind of very fitting for where we're at, and I think it's good. I'm curious to see what happens. I plan on coming back to these things and participating and growing. I think it's cool. One thing that I want to say about the filming and not filming, I know personally it's nice to know at least what's kind of going on with as far as
Yeah, and I
filming
figured
stuff.
I would set it up, record, and then tell people, hey, I'm gonna put this online if everyone's okay with it. But if anyone had said no, I would.
So, and honestly, no, I'm fine with it, kind of knowing and stuff. And it makes sense what you were saying too about the inhibition. It might be worth it as these sessions to go on to do the film session that you post, and then do the camera off session where people really want to,
Yeah, and I
do
think what I
something,
am gonna
have
do
it,
is turn this off
all kinds
after
of
your
stuff.
song, because I do wanna capture your song, because I think music is a part of the moments that I wanna capture here. But I will turn it off after that and just keep things going. Because my point is not to record everything and just be like sort of exhaustive about our documentation.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing, being a video producer, people do not know exactly what's going to be used or not going to be used, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of trust and knowledge about how that's going to be utilized.
The very first Whitaker thing,
And
doing
so
it
that's
down.
really important.
And Tim put it on there, so yeah.
Well, let's hear a song and then I'll turn it off after that.
And again, like personally, I think it's great. I appreciate what you're doing with it, and I think that's an
Me too.
important thing.
Me too.
Ways to have it, have our cake and eat it too.
Nice and
So, all right, let me try something then. Let's see what. Actually. If you are alive in the world today, chances are you are being exposed to in some way a measure of dismay. That seems to be rising in our world now, as if the Dementors have come from Azkaban. fog there is a rainbow, and here in this very room, from things I have heard, but moments ago, there is indeed the seed spread and the true beginning, not beginning, the continuance of what we could call a revolution. Revolution of consciousness, I think you were saying earlier, revolution of the mind and connection with spirit and everything, and we are a part of that. It connects to consciousness and our dimensions and other dimensions, our history, our futures. But it's here in the right now, and waking people up somehow, connecting, and it can be through the sharing of art and music, or the sharing of an ear to someone who needs to be heard, the sharing of a sandwich or a conversation, benevolence and connection on from all our different levels and manifestations. And there is a way, there is a thing, there is a substance that humans seem to need, something on which our very souls seem to feed, that can be, if we continue to work together and find a way through its harmony, can be the way that we learn to create a much more effective, efficient, and better overall living arrangement and society for all involved. It might take thousands of years, but the moment is the bigger picture. The microcosm is the macrocosm. The little things we do continue through and through, and one of the great systems that we have as people to help to achieve a harmonious dream. 3 simple letters, A-R-T, art, and the artful life. Now we often associate art with a song or a painting or an artifact, but art really is, if you dig down deep into its gravity, an energy, a force that allows something to be out of nothing for a reason. For the existence of anything at all, it is a contrast, the harmony of contrast, the taking the things that seem to cancel out each other and create a beautiful, infinite, swirling vision of light from it. Ever-changing the being of our seeing and our connection to reality are absolutely eminently important. It is also the composition of serendipity, for, you see, even the creator, if you will, can't abide for, yeah, that's kind of cool. So I abide for every single drop of paint or every single moment that might affect the larger canvas of life. You see, we live in a world of serendipity. An asteroid could come at any time. Does that mean we stop living? No, we found a way not to be left behind. Such is life, and such is art, and such is music. It is being able to connect those elements together and create a world of vision beyond what we might normally hear or see. And this is how we can live fully and artfully. We incorporate this idea into the way that we interact with each other, into how we build our buildings, which has been done. I mean, there is certainly human precedent for a fully integrated artful existence. Unfortunately, it's often been used by some sort of authority to create a stronger hold of some tyranny. But you can't change the art. Even art that some of the most majestic works of art in this sheer realm of invention, of composition, of form, of color, they transcend the original message. The Sistine Chapel doesn't lose power because you might not be Christian. The art is there, that message is transcendent. And we can incorporate that image, that feeling, we can put it into our agriculture, into our school system, basically everything. It's not so much about a world of artifacts, it's an artful life, understanding the principles that things matter. Every stroke of paint, every little mark you make, it matters in the canvas of life. We're little strokes of paint that can make our own paintings on the canvas of life. Actually, there's a pretty cool little animated movie. I think it's called The Painter or Le Peinteur, if it's French, but it's about the beings that live inside this painting, and it's this neat cartoon, and they get out of the painting, and it's a nice little meaning of life discovery thing about, through art. One of the reasons know, like, color is such an important part of revolution, if you think about it. The colors of the 60s and what's happened then, the colors of the mind, and opening things up, color, it's so important. One of the great cultural revolutions that we had was when we went, for better or for worse, we went east, like during the Crusades and after, and we came back with all these colors and spices and things that livened up the senses, you know, and we're in a point right now where that way of being, that the artful living, the artful life, incorporating beauty to help us with our strife, is one of the things that I think that we can all participate in and continue to do to try to make things better through and through. Because it is about the bigger picture, but it's also about the moment. Art proves infinity and proves that there can always be something new and something growing and growing. You can always add another stroke of paint to a painting. Even if it ends up being 72 miles thick, you can keep painting that thing. And adding away. I will add this to the song before I fade it out. That I'm an absolute advocate and proponent of abstraction. Okay, abstract art, the idea of, even in music, I'll often do because just the notes itself, the connection to music, the thing can take us to our own different place. You have an abstract work that can be all these different faces or all these different things or all these different feelings. It brings us to a whole new level of consciousness. It brings us to a whole new level of looking at art, connecting with the world, the life and spirit, and abstraction as an entity, as a connection to art is, it's a fairly new rediscovery, if you will, like the power of what it can do and where it can go. So I'm a big advocate for that as a way that we can continue to connect and unify. I could start an abstract painting and someone could add something to it and someone else could add something to it and it could still be beautiful. Whereas if I'm painting a particular person and someone adds something else, it affects, you know, I had an idea and now it's changed, but abstraction can allow for everything to continue to be rearranged. Especially in a public sense, you know. So, art, the artful life. You gotta start somewhere. And it might as well be here in this beautiful place. And I will say publicly in this song, thank you, Eli. It's very nice, just met you tonight. And it's very nice to meet you. You radiate something very good. I think you have a good thing going here. And I definitely hope to see it keep up. And thank you, all of you, for being here and for your ear and your time.
Gorgeous. Beautiful. Thank you.
I want you to follow me around wherever I go.
Yeah.